Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Studs and Scrubs podcast. Nick and I were doing a little tongue looseners there, laughing as we come on. Unique New York. Unique New York.
Unique New York.
We are recording fairly late today. It is 11:45 Michigan time, and Nick is rocking Christmas gear again, showing off that hat. Who is it again? Yukon?
Yukon Cornelius from the claymation Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Just came today, so, I normally have that Santa hat that's either red, I got a Red Wing Santa hat, and usually rock that this time of year wherever I go. But this one, sometimes you just want a ball cap. It's not as cold out. Santa hat can get a little warm at times, so.
That's such an awesome hat, too, because I love the characters that, not that Yukon's not a major character, but the movie's pretty old, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like where if you've got a Christmas one or Santa Claus or Rudolph, it's like, it's kind of like the Mickey Mouse, right?
It's
like,
obvious.
okay,
it's the main guy, the big
side guy. I usually love a lot. Well, I've got my Rocco going. It's,
Oh, yeah.
He's the main character from that show, but like, it's an older show now. People don't maybe think of like, oh, Nickelodeon, they go straight to Rocco's anymore. So, I always like the side guys. I love Bob's Burgers, one of my favorite shows. And I love the major side guys.
Yeah.
Like Teddy and I don't know if you watch the show, but I'm always a big fan of that. So, anyways.
Yeah, it's good stuff. And I got my ugly Christmas sweater on. Sorry.
There we go. Nick's pulling the camera down, showing me a bit more than I bargained for. Here we go.
Well, careful there, Stu.
Well, it's like the work camera. You just got it on your face. Nick's rocking no pants for Christmas down there. If you're on Spotify, the YouTube's going to be rated R this episode. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. I think I took my senior pictures like that, honestly. I had like the...
No pants?
No, where you're like from the top, you got like the nice
shirt
with the tie and the jacket and a pair of gym shorts or something. It's like...
Not gym shorts. I'm going to guess that you had on cargo, camo cargo.
Ooh, you might be right.
Because
I don't really remember, but
of us hanging out at Disney World with the children where you have like camo cargo for the extra pockets.
Hey, the cargo... It's coming back. The cargo shorts are coming back. I don't know about
the
cargo
pants. They are a little
bit.
And I mean, first of all, when you're a dad and you're at Disney World, it's like if you're wearing
pockets is a premium.
Pockets
is a premium.
I just went there. I just went to Disney World today.
Yeah.
I had a fanny pack on. Ruins the outfit. Don't care.
Yeah, who cares?
At all. Yeah. I got my car keys in here where I'm not going to lose them. They're clipped on. Like I'm not going to be the guy wandering around a 50,000 acre park going, I think my keys are here somewhere. Like,
yeah, not worth it.
All AAA, bud.
Yeah.
Because you're done. You're not going to find them.
Yeah, I will apologize if I sound a little nasally. We had some family in town last week for the Thanksmas, and I was so normally 4 people are in my house, but last week we had 11. And all crammed in the many different rooms here, nooks and crannies. And so my family, so Rochelle, my wife, me, Zoe, who's 11, and Eli, we all slept in Eli's room. Eli got to sleep in his bed. He has a loft bed, so there was plenty of floor space, and we were all just like kind of sprawled out there. So you didn't really sleep the greatest. And also, I think like the sleeping not so good, plus a little bit of the weather change, temperature change, my congestion. I don't know, I'm starting to get some of it. So like some sinus stuff, congestion going on, just being tired, a lot going on, not sleeping good, changing weather. You know how that is. So that's what's up with me. But
it's people traveling, giving you, sicknesses.
Yeah.
Plus, I got a little sidetracked while you were telling the story because I thought, how does Eli swing his own bed?
He was the only one in this house that slept in his own bed. Yeah.
He's always up to something. He's steps ahead.
Yeah.
It's why I deny all these trades he sends me. I mean, there's something brewing.
There's something going on. Something behind it. That's right.
He's got something up his sleeve. I actually just went to look right now if I've got a pending trade from him because the past 2 podcasts we've read them out live on the pond. No, because I think I had 4 from him that I had to go in and deny because I was like,
gosh.
They're okay trades. He's just after my first round pick, so I'm like, I'm not feeling it. We did that on one of the pods where we kind of broke down how was that last episode? How like you can have multiple first and it's not really a guarantee. 1, if somebody gets hurt, but 2, you can pick people that should be the best that then underperform or they just somebody got lucky where they picked up a guy lower and he's on fire. And it's like, all right, well now you're 2-2, and you mortgage your whole future.
The last place team in our league right now had 3 first-round picks this year.
Tough start.
Yeah.
I mean,
now some of that
schedule,
because they do not have the least amount of points scored in the league. Sorry, Leah. That's you. And I think you have. Does she have a winning record?
I think so. Or it's tied.
Or she's like 2-3, maybe something like that.
Yeah, I don't remember now. Let me pull it up. But yeah, the total points is lower than her record would imply. 2-3.
She's 2-3 with like 670 points.
Something like that. And the person in first, there's 2 people with over 1,000.
Yeah. And one of them is 2-3 as well. Jace.
Yeah, Jace has 1,000 points when he's 2-3, and just for the listeners as a comparison. Well, I don't want to call Leah out too hard. Every single person in the league has 800.
Okay, I'll call. Leah, you're 2-3, and you haven't even scored 700 points yet. And Jace has scored 1,000 points and is 2-3.
And he's 2-3. But that's how it is. Sometimes you can be 295 points and the other guy's got 297.
Yeah.
And then there's somebody else that had 101 and they won.
I maybe shouldn't have called Lee out too hard either because I might have lost to her. I can't remember.
I think you did.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
So I'd
have to go back through it.
Yeah, that's all right.
I think you did though.
I don't want to know if I did or not. So
well, now you called her out. You did. You lost handsomely too. You lost by 25, 22.
Yeah.
That's the week that I put up. This is a good example, though. Leah did 155.99, so 156, and she won. Bender City Pigeons did 197, and he lost. Yeah. I did 193, and I lost.
Yeah.
So it's just like...
Sometimes it's like that.
Sometimes it's like that. In fact, there was 3 people. Don't Tase Me, Bro. Hockey Homicide is Leah. And Nally Irish Canadian Pirates all didn't do very well, but they won because their matchup was weak.
The matchup, yeah.
Yeah. In fact, I'm surprised Eli has total points pretty good because he's had a couple weeks low. So he must have had 1 or 2 really high.
Yeah.
Maybe before.
So, I mean, that's just part of it. Sometimes you get lucky with your matchup, but that's so hard to predict who you're going to play, what their team's going to be like, how they're going to perform. So, I mean,
a lot of it's random. Leah also edits these, so we'll have to redeem ourselves a little bit before we look real dumb in the next episode. And she's replaced all of our stuff. She has some injuries that are like her big guns, specifically Matthews. Matthews keeps going and coming back. So when you expect Matthews to have 70 goals and he's on pace for like 25, then that is a big blow. But basically, she needs to make more moves, pretty much. So, Leo, if you listen to this one all the way through, most of the people in the league that have more points, they're just adding more. They're adding and dropping. That's why we do the studs and scrubs. It's a big key to fantasy, whether you play the default settings or you play the fun way like we do, because default sucks. Then you got to add and drop. You got to add and drop. It's the only way to basically guarantee you get more. If you play more games than the other guy, you have a huge advantage.
Right.
Well, you know what? That's a decent segue because right now, my team, I'm in a situation where I'm losing, but it's close.
Mm-hmm.
And the people that are available are like about the same as my low people, but then it'll be like they're playing. So if I drop them and put them in, I don't gain a game.
That is the hard thing. So there have been times where, yeah, if it's that, I will save my moves and I'll just roll with the guy that's on my team, unless it's someone that I think I want to keep long term.
Right.
Otherwise, I'm not gaining a game, so it doesn't matter. But okay, so we're recording this Friday night. So on a Saturday, there's usually a lot of games.
Mm-hmm.
So Friday, Saturday, depending on where you're at in your matchup, that's a good time to look at Sunday's schedule. Who can I pick up that would get me an extra game on Sunday? Because most of the time, Saturday is going to be a full slate. You're going to have people. Saturday is going to be the hard day where maybe everyone on your roster is going to have a game, and then you're going to have to pick which center do I want to start. Whereas most of the other nights, you might only have one or two of those where you're trying to figure it out, but you're just plugging all your players in, and usually you can get enough that it's offset that I got enough players going on Wednesday or Thursday, and then where you don't have to decide between the players that are on your team. Saturday you do, so you're not really gaining any games, but it's nice to sometimes look ahead to that Sunday and see, okay, how many games are on that Sunday. Sometimes Sundays can be full. Other times, there might only be two or three games. And then it gets to be kind of tricky as to like, okay, well, do I even have anybody that I want to drop just
Right.
to be able to pick someone up, just to be able to pick up a third line guy to maybe try and win my week? Or,
Right.
let's see how this Saturday goes. I'm a big believer too in using my moves like if I'm getting smoked um, on Saturday and there's no chance I can come back and win, okay, well, I might use some of my moves on that Saturday to get me ready for the next week. All right,
Right.
just throw in the towel for this week, but let me pick some guys up ahead, looking ahead to see
Because
what's down the road.
and that's a good strategy because we play with 5 ads
Yes,
and
5 ads
every
a
week,
week.
and I feel like default is maybe only 4.
Full, yes, probably.
Probably
And
we've
I'm
tweaked
not
so
opposed
many
to
things.
4. But even 5 isn't, I don't, man, 4, I could see going to 4. 5, just a little, you could almost do one a day. And Saturdays, you're not gaining anything usually because you have a full slate anyway. So then you have an add 5 of the 6 days. So
Yeah,
if we went down to 4, then you got to think and strategize and figure out what you want to do a little more than the 5
that's
ads.
true.
So
Well, it kind of goes both ways, right? Because like when you have more ads, then you kind of get pigeoned into this sort of the whole league is like drop people, add people, drop people, add people.
yeah,
I played more games than you. I went, well, maybe. Also, then you can kind of get in this cycle where like, oh, you had somebody maybe who's good, but they're underperforming. Like he's hurt right now, but like Evander Kane sometimes, or some of the streaky people, like of course I was gonna say Lane, he's hurt too, but
mm,
Pierre Luc Dubois and some of these guys that kind of Mantha, some of these people that they score a hat trick and then they're off the sheet for a month is like you might drop and add so many people that then it's like your team 4 weeks later is worse than if you just would have kept them all
yeah,
because you're just dropping that and dropping that and dropping that. And where then if you only had 2 or 3 ads, like you'd be so cautious to use them that it almost backfires the other way. Like I guess I'm kind of rambling, but when you have 4 or 5, I think the strategy is similar. Use your ads and drops to get a couple more points, but like don't go crazy because if you drop that dude and then he gets hot, you lost him because
yeah,
everyone's adding. Where if it's like, okay, I'm going to just keep my team because I've only got 2 ads a week, well, then whoever had the best team to start probably wins fantasy. And so it's like, then it gets a little bit boring where it's like, you know how some people do these dynasty leagues or what you keep like your whole
Mm-hmm.
team or whatever. And it's like, okay, well, if my best player is Luke Hughes, maybe he grows into be incredible and he's similar to Quinn, where he's getting points all the time and I got the
Mm-hmm.
best D in the league. Or maybe not so much. And then somebody else is like, oh, well, I got McDavid and I got whatever, pasta. And it's like, all right, well, you're gonna win. You
Yeah.
get 100 goals every year. This isn't fun, So
Yeah. I'm almost
I can see
thinking
the strategy.
spitballing here. If we did go down in ads, um, it, because you don't always know the full ramifications of changes you make. So if we went down in ads, you're probably right. 4 and 5 ads might not be that big of a difference. If you went down to 3 ads a week, now people are being a little more cautious because you're not just picking up that goalie just to play one game for you and then you're going to drop them again. Um, so I think two things maybe. The first is that now people are going to get more upset when people like me use my IR plus spots essentially as an extra roster slot to
Mm-hmm.
just hang on to people because then guys are always getting banged up, nicked up. I can interchange, oh, this guy, day to day, put him on my IR plus, pull that guy off. 2 days later, someone else on my team gets banged up, the other guy gets healthy.
Right.
I'm not opposed to that strategy though. If that's the strategy, I mean, that's everyone has access to that. Everyone has the same IR spots. Everyone has the
Right.
same thing. So I just because I know about it and I'm doing something with it doesn't mean I'm cheating. Um,
I just did it. What we talked about last
I had a
episode.
guy that's healthy that's on my IR plus right now. But so guess
Right.
what?
You can leave them
I didn't get to start him tonight, which is
there. Oh,
so I can't if I want to, I have to drop someone to play him. Okay. But I'm also kind of hanging on to him because maybe my roster's full tonight and I don't need to play him anyway. So, you
and
know,
I like that. I like that because you can get lucky. It happened to me this year. I got pretty lucky. Slavkovsky kept going down,
mm,
but somebody else also. Maybe it was somebody really good too. Anyways, they were like day to day. No one was really hurt. It was
mm,
Slavkovsky and somebody else, and they kept like they're healthy, and then 6 hours would go by, and it's like, oh, they're changed from day to day to out.
yeah,
And so I got lucky because I'd keep them on IR. They'd go healthy. Okay, if my roster's full or just my wingers are full, right? Then it's like, I gotta drop somebody and play him, and he might do better. Or the guy I picked up who's filling him in is doing okay. I'll just leave him on there, and see how he does.
yeah.
Then somebody else goes day to day. Now you just swap
Then
them,
you're just swapping them in and out. So it's essentially a free move that
right?
you're using.
Without a
Um,
drop or an ad and people often they miss one game. You got how many people on your team? 18 people on your fantasy
yeah,
team. So the chances of somebody getting dinged up for one game, whether they got the flu or they got a small injury, it's like, okay, I've got Velarde. All right, Velarde goes day to day. Okay, flip him out. Easy peasy, no problem. I essentially have an extra player on my team almost. With it's
right.
adding and dropping, right? It's a
Yeah,
move without a move. But you do have to get a little lucky, and you can screw yourself over. I think it happened to you last year. Maybe you had 4 or 5 guys hurt, and it's like, okay, what do I got to drop my whole team here? Like,
right. Yeah, you can definitely get caught with it. And then there are times where in the past especially, I've picked up guys, I've used them every year probably, where after the draft, I wait till the waiver period is over because I don't want to use my waiver. And I just wait till they're free agents, and then you can immediately put them on your team. If you use your waiver number, then you're putting in for that player. The lowest number that puts in for a player gets it. Once the time has elapsed or eclipsed for if it's 2 days that they're on the waiver wire, after that, the person with the lowest number gets them. But then you go to the end of the line. I don't like using my waiver unless it's someone I really want to get. So after the draft, I'll wait, and then I'll go on there. And the easiest thing to do is I go to projections, so like Yahoo's projected rankings, and I'll start going down that list and see. I'm giving away some secrets here, which is why Stu wanted to start this podcast.
That is the whole reason. I said, "Oh, Nick, what are some good strategies for the listeners?"
Go down
I've
that
never
list.
put one episode on Spotify. It's just for me.
Go down that list, and I pick up a couple of people that are hurt. I've always had people on my IR plus. Worst case, they don't come back and you drop them. Now, yeah, maybe you've shown your cards, and people were like, "Oh yeah, I forgot about Evander Kane being hurt out there. I'm gonna pick him up because I haven't." Yeah, but it's like, dude, those are free spots. Just I use them. I use them in football. I use them in hockey. It just seems that now, does it always work out? No, but
yeah, and maybe people don't even realize that you can do that. Like if you go to add a player that is currently hurt, you can add them directly into the IR plus spot, right?
I believe so. Now, some leagues you can't add them directly to your IR plus spot.
Okay.
You would have to drop someone, pick someone up, put them on your IR, and then you would have a roster spot open, and then you could do that. But all of that is in the settings. You can find that out. The commissioner's not hiding anything.
Oh.
You can go to the settings and read through those settings. It'll tell you that's on there. Add players directly to IR. Yes or no.
Yes, no.
Yeah.
Okay, because I feel like maybe it used to be no in our league a long time ago.
I think so.
Because you probably had to manually go switch it to yes.
Yeah, yes. I think that's Yahoo's default.
Yeah, because I feel like in the past I've had that problem where it's like I gotta add this guy, but I gotta drop a healthy person to put him on. Which I kind of get the idea of, like, it does take a little more strategy. Like, okay, if you want this hurt guy, you got to drop this good guy. But in real life, if I traded for a player to the Red Wings and he's hurt, I don't know. I guess I don't know the rules that well. Like, okay, I traded for a player who's injured. You got Mark Stone during the regular season. He's not playing. And you go, okay, what do I got to drop somebody? That doesn't make any sense, right? He's not on the 20-man roster. He's on injured reserve. Yeah. So anyways, but to your point though, I did that this week. I'm sure you saw. And it was the first time in a long time I've done it off of waivers. I usually don't use my waivers, but somebody did it, I think. They drafted this player, right? And they got hurt, so they kept them because they're a good player. But they might miss the whole year. So they put him on IR. And then I don't know exactly. I'm sure I should have researched it. I assume a few people got hurt on their team. So he drops Drew Doughty, right? So I see it and I go, ooh, that's a guy worth hiding on your IR.
Yeah.
Drew Doughty, he might be old, but he still puts up the points in fantasy and in real life. Like, that's a good ad. So nobody's hurt on my team. I'll go grab him. What's my waiver position?
Yeah.
One.
So then you're going to get him.
I guaranteed I'll get him. I might as well. Yeah. So then I thought, okay, well, screw it. I'll put in for him because I know for a fact I'm going to have him on my team. But now I'm waiver number 12, and it's 6 weeks into the year.
Yeah.
So whatever, right? I don't know what it is in real life. We're on game number 20 or less.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, so, less than that. Red Wings have played 15. Which, by the way, they're not looking that great, but they're in the lead right now. Well, last time I looked. They're playing Anaheim, so don't... Oh, my God, they've blown the lead. They were up 3-1. It's 3-3 now, live.
I know. I get alerts on my phone, which is what I'm using to record this
Oh, well,
podcast
this is
with.
why.
So,
Now that we have built up a fan base, we have a couple million followers. Nick is somehow cursed. If he watches the game, it's like a guarantee the
and I'm
Red Wings are
not
going to
watching
lose.
it. I'm not watching it. I promise. But yes, they're
But,
playing the lowly Ducks tonight, and I saw that the Ducks just came back and tied it.
which is a little bit embarrassing because it's a hard time to be a Red Wings fan because just missed the playoffs by this much, and they're not looking that good
Mm,
this year. But luckily, the Atlantic is just weird this year. Red Wings have only played 15 games. The Maple Leafs have played 18. The Bruins have played 18. The Panthers have played 17. So yes, they're in second to last in the Atlantic, and they're basically terrible. They're 7-7-1. But the Sabres are 8-8. The Senators are 8-7. The Lightning are 8-6, and the Bruins are 8-8. So 500 for the past 2 or 3 weeks has been the
yeah,
Atlantic.
yeah.
So thank you, Canadians, for being terrible, and the Leafs and the Panthers for being good, because the rest of us are in a crapshoot. I
Right.
mean, I'm looking right now. I didn't really realize this. Bruins, I know they've struggled, right? They're 8-8-2. 18 points. Red Wings have 15 points. They've played 3 more games than the Red Wings, though.
Mm,
They have negative 16 goal differential. Even the Red Wings have negative 8. And
wow.
Red Wings are terrible. They're like the worst in the Atlantic except for the Canadians and the Bruins. And so the
Mm,
Bruins are in a playoff position if it's starting today, and
yeah.
they're basically terrible. So it's
Mm,
like,
that's
and
crazy.
they wouldn't be. If it really was even, if there was 82 games, the Lightning have played 3 less games and they're only 1 point back.
Mm.
So Bruins, by the way, your preseason prediction on the Bruins is looking real good. Because when you
Mine?
said they're the team that's going to drop off and the Bruins
Uh,
are basically out, I think you
yeah.
still had them making the playoffs, but it was like they're going to squeak in,
Kind of
they're
on
going
the,
to fall apart, the wheels are coming off, they suck. I was
yeah.
like, Nick's been huffing glue because the Bruins are.
Oh, well, we'll
But
see how some of it,
we'll
in a
see how
little
some of
bit,
it.
we'll do the age like milk, age like wine, and we'll see
Yes,
where we're at.
we will, because right now I want to do it now because of my Devils are in first place and just beat the tar out of everybody this week, and they're looking so good. And
Yeah.
it's like, well, they've played 20 games.
Mm,
The Hurricanes have only played 15.
yeah.
So
Whew.
when you look at the standings, you're going, oh wait, it's not quite as impressive as I thought. But speaking of the standings, before we go too far into get into our studs and scrubs and our normal stuff, the Penguins. Now, this kind of fills me with joy a tiny bit because of 2009 still. But,
Right.
and I just am not a huge Kyle Dubas guy. I just don't get it. I don't get the praise of Kyle Dubas. I don't think he's like the worst person ever, but like some people just, it's like here's Scotty Bowman and there's Dubas. And it's like,
Not even
I
close.
don't understand it. I don't understand what he's done that's so impressive. Well, the Penguins are not only 1 point ahead of the Blue Jackets, but the Blue Jackets just beat the living crud out of them. We're recording Saturday. It's Friday night, but it's Saturday for me in Florida now. We passed midnight.
Yeah. What was the score of that game?
I think it was 6-2. Hold on, I got out of my live scores. They destroyed them,
Mm,
and the Penguins' goal differential is not only the worst in the whole NHL.
wow. I didn't realize that.
Well, they just lost to the Blue Jackets, right? Blue Jackets are in dead last in the East. Well, no, they're not. The Canadians are. They're in dead last of the Metro. -4 goal differential. Penguins, -26.
Oof.
And what's super crazy, when you pick apart the teams with the worst goal differentials, they can't score, right? So you go to
Hmm.
the Blackhawks, they got -10. Not good, but better than the Blues, better than the Predators, better than the Sharks and Anaheim. So -10 is pretty bad, worse than the Red Wings, but you're not like the worst in the whole NHL. The Blackhawks have only scored 42 goals for. Predators 41, Blues 43, Sharks 42.
Mm.
The Penguins have scored 51 goals and they're negative 26. So you're telling me you scored 10 more goals and you're 16 more negative.
Against. Wow.
So they're by far the most goals against in the whole NHL. They got 77, Canadians 70. No one else is even close. Even the Sharks are 63, and all the other losers like the Red Wings and the Blackhawks and the Predators are all in the 50s.
Wow.
Red Wings have only let in 45 goals. Actually, the least amount of goals in the Atlantic Division.
We just can't score.
Can't score to save our lives.
Man, that's rough.
In fact, this is interesting. Now I'm getting a little too stat heavy. I'm just reading it out loud, just like any good teacher reads the PowerPoint out loud. Thanks, Stu. I can read. But there's only 3 teams, I think, with a better goals against average in the whole Eastern Conference. So Red Wings, shoot the puck once in a while.
Yeah.
Because I think they've got about 10 shots on goal every game. And maybe you could, if we were whatever, 9-5.
Yeah.
Be in second place. Well, that's not true. We'd be in third place.
All right.
Okay.
Well,
so,
Red Wings, if you're listening, shoot more.
Well, right. Londell, if you want to keep your job at this rate.
Yeah.
I've heard that there's a lot of buzz around it. I don't know how true it is, but that at least crazy fans are calling for his name. I don't know if we talked about that last episode, but I don't know if it would actually take root in the middle of the season. So moving on from all of that, sorry, Red Wings, that you sucked this year. We're still rooting for you. I still think you can get into the playoffs. We just need the Capitals to start losing, really, because the Atlantic is a crapshoot, but the Capitals are 10-4.
I did not see that coming.
And it's like, I think both of us probably knew, like with some of their off-season acquisitions, it was like, oh, dang, those were some pretty good moves. But I didn't think it was going to be like they're tied with the Rangers.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. They're 1 point behind the Hurricanes, and the Devils are beating them, but they've played 5 more games. So I'm looking at the Metro going, I had it backwards. The Atlantic, the wheels fell off, and the Metro's strong.
Yeah.
So who knows? It's been a weird year for everyone, though. I think everyone, even the Oilers are struggling, kind of, but McDavid came back and got like 10 points in 3 games. So
yeah, it's still a long season. That should all even itself out as time goes on. So
exactly. So, anyways, let's move on. Did you want to jump into the studs and scrubs or start talking about our boys?
Let's do some studs and scrubs.
Well, do you want to kick that off? I was trying to avoid it, but we thought our third co-host was going to be on this episode, and he actually did plan on it this time. I've been getting texts while we're talking.
Well, he said he was going to. I don't know how much planning he did.
Yeah, he said that he's trying to get on, but he's actually still in the car, not at his computer yet.
Still in the car. He was supposed to be home an hour and a half ago.
That's what I thought. But that's
Miles, come
when
on.
you listen to this, we thought you were on.
Yeah.
But,
come on, bud. You're the youngest.
I told him he can join.
You're the youngest one that works on a podcast for a living. What's going on? Why can't you figure it out?
Your young mind to hear us of our old internet poor usage. Also, I told him, just follow the link and he can join in the middle while we're recording.
Yeah.
And just jump on. So I kind of doubt it at this point. We're 30 minutes in, but
right.
I was like,
he's already on to his Call of Duty game.
I was stalling, like, come on, jump in.
Yeah.
Dude,
or whatever the kids are playing these days.
Speaking of games, and I don't know what the kids are playing these days, flashback to when you used to come over to the apartment and we'd hang out late at night and do, like, Rocket League.
And I'd fall asleep in the car. We'd go on the field. Yeah.
Well, one, I can't talk crap because if you're starting work at 3 a.m. and you have 2 children, I didn't quite realize, maybe could be a little different when the kids are older, but like video games are like done when you have
Yeah,
kids.
yeah.
And I've only got the one, but like I play. There's a remake of an old game, Final Fantasy VII. They remade it. It's
Mm.
awesome. She actually loves it. It's super good graphics and beautiful music and all this stuff. So when I play that, my daughter will like, she loves it. But babies don't sit still and
Right.
just watch daddy play.
Yeah.
She's like, hey, that's cool. Okay, now I'm going to go run over here and destroy stuff, and I'll come back and watch it, or I'll scream, or I'll hit the TV, or the number one thing, what do you got in your hand, Dad?
Oh, yeah.
Why does that controller light up? What does it do? And I bought a PS5 off of my friend, so I got it cheap. The new controllers are like crazy. They're super like sensitive and stuff. They're like the
Mm.
Switch ones, but even more maybe. Well, they all have speakers in them. So certain parts of the game,
Oh,
the characters will talk to you through your remote. And unless you're a full gamer with the setup and the chair and the
yeah.
headphones, I'm just kind of like, oh, I can play for 20 minutes real quick before we do something. Your controller lights up and makes sound, and you
Mm.
got a baby?
Yeah.
Good luck, Dad. Good luck. So,
Uh,
as much as
yeah.
I'm saying that, my wife would be like, "Oh, you don't play games, huh? Let's check the time log on them and see." But
Uh, not
anyways,
like
that's
you
a
want
little
to.
dad tangent. But you know how it is. Like you would come over and we'd play FIFA or we'd play hockey or Rocket League or
Rocket
whatever. And
League.
like,
Yeah, yeah.
okay, well, yeah, that's because it's 1 a.m. and all the kids are asleep and you're at our apartment playing real quick
Uh,
at 7 at night before bed with the kids ain't happening.
yep.
So,
It's a no-go.
all right, did you want to do your studs and scrubs first? So I will shut up.
Sure. I'll start with a stud. Just a little bit of research tonight. Um, and I will preface mine by saying a lot of times I look at studs at I'm looking for a stud that's available in the league I'm in. So just because I say he's a stud, he might already be on another team. I don't know that you trade for him, but I'm just trying to find players that are available in a lot of leagues and that could contribute. If you're looking for, someone to add, guy gets hurt, you put him on your IR plus, and now I have just an empty spot to add someone to it. So my first stud's going to be Kyle Palmieri. Um, I believe he's got like 7 goals, 8 assists on the year, um, 3 goals, 5 assists in the last 6 games, 44 shots. He's a +4. He's only owned, when I looked all this up, he was only owned in like 22% of the Yahoo leagues. So he's available out there. He's a winger. So depending on your league setup, I know sometimes when we first started doing our league, Stu, with the positions, there were 2 right wingers, 2 left wingers, and that just got to
Oh,
be too hard to find. So we made it wingers. So now we have 2 center spots and 4 wingers. Doesn't matter if they're left or right. So
right.
Kyle is a winger, so it works to our advantage in our league because we have 4 of those slots, but only 22% rostered. So he would be available in a lot of those leagues. And I feel like he kind of gets a bad rap sometimes because he's on the Islanders now, I believe, correct?
Yeah,
Used to
yeah.
be on the Devils, bounced around a little bit. But I know in my mind, I don't think of the Islanders as being producing fantasy relevant hockey players. They're
Right.
more of that defensive team, lockdown. I might get a goalie from them. I think I actually have Sorokin or Sorokin, however you want to pronounce it,
Hmm.
on my team. So I love that. But as far as like thinking offensively, I know in my own head, I don't really care for the Islander players just because it's not flashy. It's not, I just don't think it's there in my head. It doesn't
Yeah.
mean that's the right perception to have. I'm just telling you what goes
Right.
on in my brain. But he'd be a guy to look at. I should have looked at the games to see if he's, what number of games, if he plays on off days or how all that stuff works. Don't forget to take that into account when you're looking at these players as well. Um, Especially if you're picking up someone, say, on a Tuesday or Wednesday, kind of early on in the week, I would go ahead and look at the rest of the week and see, okay, I might pick him up on a Wednesday for that off day where he has a game, but a lot of other teams don't. But will you run into that problem throughout the week, or is he going to play all those off days? Oh, he's got a game Wednesday and Friday and Sunday when most of my other teams don't. Now I'm picking him up and I'm getting almost 3 extra games just by that one player. So, but I would say he would be someone that would be serviceable, probably someone that's available in your league because he's not rostered in a whole lot. And he has been doing pretty decent here, a little bit of a streak, especially in the last 6 games. So
That's a good one. I'm actually kind of surprised he's not rostered in at that many leagues, and it's probably what you're saying, right? Like, if I'm going to go pick up somebody and there's comparables available, I might think, oh yeah, but the Islanders win games 1-0. I'm not adding anybody from their team. They're not going to get any points.
yeah,
And if they do, it's all running through maybe Barzal or Lee or
yeah,
whoever. So you're thinking like, okay, kind of like the Penguins, right? They're sucking this year. My guy Malkin is on my team. He just got me -4 fantasy points today. I didn't even know that could happen as a forward. He's a -4 plus minus and took a penalty. And that's
mm,
it. Other than that, he didn't even show up to the game. So I guess, I don't know, he skated around in circles while the Blue Jackets, no offense, are one of the worst teams in the NHL, just pumped their eyes shut. And whatever, 6-2, 6-3, whatever the hell the score was, it's like, okay, well, I thought that even if the Penguins were bad, I could have Crosby or Malkin and still get some fantasy points.
you
So
would
it's
think.
similar, right? Where the Islanders are the not flashy team in your
Yeah,
mind.
you have a couple players on their team. You got a Noah Dobson, Sorokin, Barzal, and after that, it's like, all right, there's nobody. The drop off.
There's no,
You think of that drop off, like, all right, they got the top 3 or 4
yeah,
fantasy relevant players, and that's it. The rest of the team's trash, garbage. They're not serviceable at all. But that's not
right.
always the case. But that's
Not
just
always
what
the case.
I think in my head a lot of times.
Well, you
So,
know what? It's similar to the Wild, where you're thinking, okay, you got Kaprizov at the
mm,
top. You know,
yeah,
you could argue that he has gone to the next level, the superstar. Like a top 5 should include him. If you think it's McDavid, McKinnon, Makar, Kucherov, and Draisaitl, some people are saying take one of them out. Matthews, take one of them out. That's how good Kaprizov is.
mm,
And I think you could make the argument pretty soundly that he's like guaranteed top 10, and he might be top 5 because the dude has no one to play with. No offense to some of their players. Minnesota is doing good this year, and they've got a well balanced team, like you're saying to the Islanders. You go,
mm,
oh, he's the only guy on their team. Kaprizov's amazing. Everyone else sucks.
right,
Well, take a look at the roster because maybe not, and maybe they get points because they play with Kaprizov. But who cares? You're looking for some fantasy players. Go get
right.
someone, and it might not be for all 82 games. But these guys out here, like who'd you say, Palmieri? They're
Yes,
only rostered in 22%,
two
right?
22%.
So like they're probably available. And in those 22% of leagues, I bet you people drop him after a week or two. You know what I mean? So it's
He's a
like
guy
it's a
that's
revolving
just
door.
cycled through.
Exactly. So that's a great one. And look around on some of those teams that you think of either top heavy or not flashy. Like
Yeah,
the Kings are doing better than most people would have guessed probably this year. Maybe even Edmonton, right? You're thinking it all runs through Bouchard, Draisaitl, and McDavid. Okay, Hyman sucks this year. That's all they've got. And it's like, okay, well maybe who was it last year that surprised everyone in the playoffs? Brown. Maybe there's some
mm,
guys lower on the roster that have more fantasy points than you think. The Flyers, the Senators, the Blues. There's some teams out there that you kind of think, right, there's line one and that's all they got.
Yeah.
Maybe not. Dig a little bit deeper. There's some serviceable people in the ranks that are sleepers because they're on these not sexy teams. Everyone knows Dallas has a good depth, and Vegas and whoever else. But that's a good call. Nick's always good at those. I'll go with a stud. No, you know what? I'll derail the conversation just for a second. The Red Wings were winning 3-1. They're down 5-3. Since 4 unanswered goals since we've been recording, since like the last 10 minutes of the recording. To Anaheim.
To the death.
I can't. I mean, we're not jumping off here. We've been fans for a long time. My dad was the 80s, Dead Wings era and all that. But it is easier to root when your team wins. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, losing to Anaheim's one thing. Being up 3-1 and then down to 5-3 in 10 minutes is. Here's my stud for this week. Brandt Clark, defenseman for the Kings. He's rostered in 74% of leagues, so pretty much everyone has him, But he's ranked 69 total in R points, but that means that he's going to be, I meant to pull it up before I talked, he's got to be in the top 20 probably defenseman. If he's top 70 in the whole league in our fantasy points, if I just do defenseman only of all players, then sort by stats for this season so far, the total season so far this year, he is by fantasy points ranking, Cale Makar in a league of his own, not surprising.
Right.
There he is. Let's find it. Don't have to count very high. Good for me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The eighth best defenseman in the NHL for fantasy.
That's crazy.
What did you guess that? I don't know. And guess who's ahead of him? Almost anyone would guess. There's some people are a little higher than I thought. Neil Poink is number 2, but the Jets can't be stopped. So you got Makar,
Adam Fox,
Poink, Dougie Hamilton, Morrissey.
Another Jet.
Did you want to guess? Sorry, while I'm ruining your game.
No, I only guessed Fox.
Yeah, which I could have told you is not true because he's almost on my scrub list because I've got him in fantasy and picked him in round 1, and he's doing fine, but fine's not good enough.
Yeah.
Morrissey, Quinn Hughes, Darlene, Hedman, Brandt Clark. So most of those names wouldn't surprise anyone except maybe Poink at number 2 and Darlene at 7 is. Everyone knows how good Darlene is, but he's hasn't always performed up to his standard because Buffalo is such a they're kind of a crapshoot, right? It's the Ottawa, Buffalo, Detroit crap triangle for 5 years. But anyways, that's my stud for this week just because it surprised me how good he was doing because I'm in a close match with Irish Canadian Pirates, Rally, this week. And I was beating him, then he was beating me. So I'm like, oh, what happened? Well, he has McDavid, right? So I'm thinking, okay, McDavid had 3 goals and 3 assists. McDavid has a lot of points since he came back from injury, but not like I have Draisaitl. So it's not like McDavid went out there and got 30 points in one game. So I'm looking down, and it's just his whole roster is solid. They've all got 5 points across the board, 6 points. And he has Clark defenseman. And so it's like I've got defensemen that are in theory supposed to be better points-wise, even the young Hudson or Bowen Byram. I got Adam Fox. I just picked up Drew Doughty, who's still hurt, of course. But I've got some pretty good offensive defensemen. I've got to spare, and it's like they're not getting the job done. Then he's out here with Clark getting points every single game. Yeah. So that's my stud for the week, even though it's hurting me this time. But he's killing it. So only 75% of leagues
Good
There's
pick.
25% of leagues out there that don't have the 8th best defenseman in the NHL. Go get it.
Yeah, that is kind of crazy. Good pick. I like that. I would never have guessed him being that high. Never.
Right? Me either. I
That's
just said,
crazy.
whoa. He's got tons of points.
Oh, all right. I'm gonna go with a scrub this time, and unfortunately, I have him on my team. I don't have a lot of stats up for him, so you might have to help me out with this. But
Okay, I'll try to pick
Jason Robertson has
one. Ooh,
just been a scrub so far this year. I feel like hasn't really gotten me very many points. The other day, Dallas just killed someone 7-1 or 8-2 or something like that. I don't
back
think
to
Jason.
back.
What's that?
7-1 and 7-2. Back to back games.
And how many points did Jason Robertson have in those games?
Real
One
NHL.
assist? Yeah, real.
1 assist, no goals. His team scored 14 goals.
He got one assist on those 14 goals. That's it.
And he's
And he,
supposed to be their McDavid, right? I mean, he's the
yeah,
next guy.
yeah. So I have him. Kind of hurts me. Um, man, yeah, I probably picked him pretty high. But
Probably. Here's a stat, by the way, that might hurt you a little more. But 14 goals, 2 against in 2 games, right? First
yes,
game, he's +1. Second game, he's +1. So he's +2. He's not even on the ice for the goals. You can't
yeah,
even stand there and let the other guys do the work.
yeah. He's just been struggling a little bit. So I won't say scrub like drop him because I mean he is pretty good. So you don't, you're not going to drop a player of that quality. But
Right.
if he's someone um, that like on a Saturday, if you got six wingers and four, they're all six playing, maybe he's someone that you sit. I know that's a tough pill to swallow sometimes because I'm the guy that likes to play my top picks, the big
Play your
names,
best. Yep.
play the best guys. I don't like doing those. I'm not good at it, I guess maybe is why I don't like doing it. But oh, this guy's, I got a hunch about this guy, or I just got a feeling that this dude's going to go off today. Or nah, this guy, his hot streak's over. I don't like doing that. I'm gonna play my big guns, and then if I lose with my big guns, at least I feel like I've put my best team out there. If I don't, and I put Robertson on my bench, and I start Tarasenko because I think nah, the Wings will be doing all right. He'll get a couple of power play points for me or something, and then the Wings get, lose to the Ducks, and Jason Robertson goes out there and has 2 goals and assists, or 2 goals, 2 assists, or something, people are going to be like, "Yeah, man, why would you have kept him on your?" So I like to start my big guns, but right now Jason Robertson, he's just not playing like a big gun, and it's very discouraging if you have him, which I do. So maybe consider sitting him if he's, if you have that option and you can fill his slot with someone else. Just for now. Don't drop him. Maybe you try to trade for him, someone in your league, um, buy low, right? So if you can kind of sneak a little deal for him or something, or just,
Maybe I'll
put
send
some
you one.
feelers out there.
Maybe I'll send you one.
Yeah.
That's okay. Here, let's
So,
do a theoretical money
uh,
where your mouth is, because tomorrow most of the teams play, but it's not as bad as it's been the past 2 or 3
okay.
weeks, where it's every team almost.
Yeah.
So you will not have to do this
Okay.
tomorrow. You've got an
Okay.
open winger slot, but it's close. So Jason Robertson's in. Okay, so let's say they're all full.
Okay.
Are you going to swap one of your guys? I'll read off your team, or maybe just as examples.
Yeah.
You've got wingers Robertson, Dorofeev, who I think was your
Mm,
stud to pick
yeah.
up last week, Tyler Seguin, Matthew Nyes, Alex Ovechkin, Steven Stamkos, Philip Forsberg,
Ooh.
and I didn't even realize you did this, sneaky little IR guy, Nichushkin's back.
Yeah.
So let's say they're all playing, and you go, Robertson is supposed to be one of my best guys. He sucks. You've got a lot of good wingers.
I'm for sure starting Ovechkin. He's just been on a tear. I would start now. Some of this is maybe a little tricky because I know for sure Stamkos and Sagan are center wingers. So if I can
True.
slide
True.
them into center positions, I probably would do that.
Okay, so let's take them out. So Stamkos is out, and who was it? Sagan's out.
Sagan.
So, okay, Ovechkin's for sure a lock.
But you know what?
Robertson is
Yeah, so
usually a
Sagan
lock.
is center winger. If I start him, then I'm benching Robertson because I sometimes depends on the players, but I don't want to have they're on the same team. If I have Ovechkin and John
Right.
Carlson, which I do, I don't mind playing the same guys on that line. I'm not worried about that power play.
Yeah.
They're going to get me points, I'm thinking. But I don't like having, and some people do, because I don't think Sagan and Robertson play on the same line. So then some people are like, well, you're spreading out different, you're not putting all your eggs in the same basket for Dallas. But it's like, yeah, but Robertson hasn't been doing anything. Sagan
Right.
has, at least, and they don't play on the same line, so I can't like double dip on those. I'd rather try to double dip on some goals rather than having two guys on different lines and trying to get points that way. That's just me though. That's my strategy. It doesn't
Yeah.
always work out for me either. But yeah, if out of those guys you told me, I'm probably starting Ovechkin, Forsberg. If I had to put Stamkos in there, if he's not, if I'm not counting him, fine. But I probably put him in there just again, big name. He can go off at any minute.
Yeah.
Some of this
Both those
might
guys.
depend on who the guys are playing, who the teams are playing. Nyes for Toronto's been pretty good lately, so I'd probably start him. And the
Okay,
dude for
so
Vegas is,
that's where the rubber meets the road, right? I was going to say you got some pretty darn good people, but if it's Robertson, Dorofeyev for the Knights,
yeah,
Matthew Nyes, and you can only do one of them, that's more where the rubber meets the road.
I'm probably going with Nyes.
Okay, I like that because I mean, Nyes is a good player, but you're
Just because
looking
I
at it
like his opportunity and he's been playing better. I
right, and
just
that's
can't get
where
over Jason Robertson. The last two games, his team has scored 14 goals and he has one assist on that. That's
right, and you might bench him, and then he scores 4 goals and 1 assist, and it's like
right.
drives you up a wall. But it's also like at some point you do have to sit the stars once in a while.
Yeah.
My star that I didn't mean to do as my scrub or to change the subject so
No,
bluntly
you're good.
was because I've already done him as a scrub, so I guess I shouldn't. But just I have to say one thing because it's just infuriating me is Zabinajad. I mean, there's been
Uh,
multiple, and not to pick on Malkin too much because Malkin's actually doing really well this year overall. The
mm-hmm.
Penguins are so bad, and maybe it's our scoring structure I'm going to complain about in the next owners meeting. Is he is just like gets you tons of points or does nothing because the Penguins are so bad. So Malkin's playing okay, goal and an assist multiple times in this year. He had a hot streak to start, right? 2 assists, no goals, 2 assists, no goals, goal and 2 assists, goal and 3 assists. So I'm like, I kind of got lucky. I picked him up as my third center and he was killing it.
Mm.
He has had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 games so far this year with negative fantasy points.
Hmm.
So there's a stretch here where his fantasy points are 16, 11, 8. And then he goes -1, +1, -4, +1/2, -1/2. And it's like, oh my God, I don't
Yeah.
know if I should start you or sit you because you either are the best guy in my fantasy or you're the pill to swallow. And Zabinajad's been similar,
Yeah.
where Malkin has been better, but Zabinajad has been worse, getting 0 points or negative points. But then he gets 4 assists, and it's like, oh my God. So they're doing my head in, but I really meant to do another stud on this one, and then we can switch over unless
Okay.
you got more dozen scrubs. But just real quick because I thought that it was an outlier and it was just silly, kind of a fun stat this year, and he was going to drop off. Has not dropped off. Stefan Nosen, stud.
Mm.
He has scored regularly. He just got 2 goals against Florida. That's why I'm saying I'm a genius and the Devils are going to win the President's Trophy. Is they're leading the league, but they've played more games, but they just pounded the Panthers 6-2, and Nosen got 2 goals against probably the second best team in the league. I think you got to give it to the Jets, but Florida's probably the next best. And the Jets destroyed the Rangers, and the Devils destroyed the Panthers. So I don't know. Maybe it's the Jets and the Devils. But Stefan Noesen has not slowed down. He's got 9 goals and 7 assists in 20 games. So he's doing pretty good. He's a point per game, over a point per game. And, he isn't historically, right? I mean,
right.
I don't know his stats forever, but he only had 14 goals last season, and he only had 13 goals the season before that. He's got 9, 20 games in. Yeah. So, I mean,
career year.
He's killing it. So leave him on stud. He's 31 years old, according to Yahoo, and he is not slowing down. So pick him up. Nice. I don't know what percentage he's in leagues. I think he's in most leagues, but do you have any other studs? How the heck do you spell Noesen? Noesen is in only 42% rostered, and he's in the top 100 players. 99. Yeah. He's ranked 99. Go grab him. He's solid.
I did have another stud. I'll just hit real quick, but you've mentioned Clark, the defenseman, who probably could be taken in your league with being rostered so high. But there's someone else here, Stu. I'm not exactly sure where he's listed at, but it's Michael Kesselring, Kessellring.
For Utah.
Yep. I don't know what number where he's ranked at in fantasy.
He's ranked 235 total.
Only
for
rostered in about.
Though, he's probably high.
Only rostered in about 9% of leagues, I think.
Yep. Right now it says 10, but he went up from last week. So yeah.
Okay.
Low.
So he's had 8 points, 19 shots, 19 hits. He also plays on the power play. He's going to be a guy maybe to just kind of look at. I think he's averaging like 20 minutes a game or something in that neighborhood, so he's going to have opportunity. But he's filling in for Sean Dursey, who's hurt. Okay. So maybe not a long-term solution to anybody's problems, but if Brandt Clark's not available in your league, this might be a defenseman to just kind of keep an eye on. Maybe not pick him up, but just put him on your watch list or just kind of see. Somebody to keep an eye on. He's, been playing well lately, maybe trending in the right direction. And
a lot of shots on goal.
Maybe not next week, but, if he's on your watch list, check your watch list every now and then, put guys on there, helps you kind of narrow them down. You can see then if other people have picked those players up, or what the situation is with them. But he's just someone that, just to kind of keep an eye on that could be serviceable for you down the road if you need a defenseman or something. He's getting the opportunity, he's getting the playing time. So just someone to keep an eye on. I got him as a stud. I don't know that he's quite a stud, but I like the diamond in the roughs.
Yeah.
Bang for your buck, find some value in some guys.
That's a good one. And you know what? He's hot right now because especially if you play categories, he's shooting the puck a lot. 5 shots
so
on
he's
goal.
Getting shots, hits.
Blocks are okay. Penalty minutes is actually a little bit high.
Which might be what's holding him back in our league.
Holding him back in our league might be good in your league. So just a good guy to look for. Kesselring, I guess. Michael Kesselring. It's a little easier to say than when you first look at it. It looks a little funky, but It's but recently been hot though. He scored a goal. He got 2 assists a couple games ago.
So just worth keeping an eye on.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm looking at 15 shots over 4 games. I mean, for somebody who's playing 16 minutes, 19 minutes as a defenseman, That's your number 5D probably, maybe top 4. I mean, that's a lot of shots on goal with no goals. Like, he's going to pick up assists. Guys are going to tip it in. He's, that's a good one. I like
And
that pick. I wouldn't have thought of him.
I
And he's
don't
available
know.
in
Yeah.
almost every league.
Oh, yeah. And I don't know how long Sean Durzee's out for. So, I mean, go. I'm not really telling you to do this if you don't want to, but like, in your league, go look up Sean Dursey. Keep an eye on him. As you're keeping an eye on this guy, keep an eye on Sean Dursey. Read
Right.
what Yahoo's saying about him. How, is he day to day? Is he week to week? Is he month to month? Has he got any setbacks? When do they expect him back?
Still
Because,
no update on ours, at least. Last played October 14th.
yeah, so he's been out a month.
Yep. And he had a few games, 2 games in a row where he was almost invisible. I wonder if he might have been hurt.
Yeah, before
playing through it.
Playing hurt, yeah.
But yeah, he's missed 10 games in a month-ish, maybe more.
And so if this guy kind of picks up on it, if he, keeps doing well, maybe then they don't rush Dursey back. A lot of times that can, if the guy that's filling in for you is handling the duties all right. All right, and maybe they can.
They've been doing well on the season. Recently, not as great. I just looked up 3-5-2 with their last 10. But I think Utah's surprised a lot of people. Even most of us said the Coyotes have a good roster. They're better than you think they are. Even last year when they were terrible, it was really hard to win at home. And their little college barn they were playing at Arizona State was like they won a lot of games at home. The roster's better than their record shows. And of course, the move to Utah, everyone knows they kind of came out of the gates hot. Recently, they've been struggling, but like the team's doing okay. So like they're not in the dire straits to like, let's get Dursey back, let's push them through.
Right. They're not desperate.
They've got a legitimate chance to make the playoffs because the Avalanche have righted the ship. But I mean, Makar and McKinnon are freaks of nature. They both have over 30 points, I think. And it's like they are single-handedly dragging the team into a playoff spot. Okay, they're injured like crazy. If they could get a save, if Nichushkin comes back, the Avalanche are probably fine. The Wild have blown away expectations, so Utah might not make playoffs. But they're playing the long game this year. They are in the hunt. They might make it. They know they might make it. Everyone had them out and the Predators in. The Predators, I mean, sorry, time of death, November 15th, but they're out. The Predators are not making playoffs. It is over. Lock that coffin up. They're done. I think they'll rebound and be way better than they are right now. But I'm looking at it. I don't see the Kings dropping off. I think the Oilers are going to get better. They're 7-3 their last 10. They're not going anywhere. How long was McDavid hurt? They said he'd be out for 2 months. He came back in 2 weeks. And he scored like 8 points in 3 games. I mean, they're going to be fine. The Kings are crushing it. The Canucks are basically playing terrible, and they're still in a position of top 3. The Preds aren't going to be able to do it. Even if the Blues suck and the Blackhawks suck and Utah falls apart, Avalanche is the worst team. The Avalanche is the worst team. Makar might be a top 10 defenseman of all time already.
Yeah.
Like, that dude could have 3 Norris trophies and he's 23 years old. Like, that
is pretty crazy.
Right? So, anyways, speaking of all-time greats and top 10 all-time, we're over an hour now. Miles is not going to be joining us at this rate. I've tried to let it stretch for him. Maybe next time we're going to try to get Grandpa Big Mike on here to tell us some crazy hockey parent stories for our Turkey Day celebration podcast. But let's go into the legends of the game that are already done, already retired, and talk a little bit about the Hall of Fame. Obviously, we're biased. Datsyuk gets on the first ballot. Well deserved. And I don't think I've met anyone who would argue with that. I think you have a little something prepared on some hockey history with Nick.
Yeah, I just kind of did a little bit of research on some of these Hall of Fame inductees, mostly the players. There were a couple, Colin Campbell and David Poyle, I believe that's how you say his name, that were inducted for builders or contributors to the
Yeah,
game. They both were GMs. I think Colin Campbell then served as like director of hockey operations or something for the NHL. David Poyle is the GM with the most wins in his career. Obviously, been around for a long, long time. Um, I don't believe he's ever won the Stanley Cup, but has managed and directed and ran a lot of couple different teams to a lot of success. And um, you have to be successful to have a long career, and then a long career is going to help you get the most wins as a GM. But
right,
they kind of go hand in hand together. If you're not being successful, no team's going to hire you to run their team. So, um,
right.
but there were a couple um, women that got in, Natalie
Hmm.
Darwitz and then Chrissy Wendell. Um, Go look up some of their stats. They've won multiple World Team USA World Championships,
Yeah.
um, gold, silver, Olympic silver. Um, Chrissy Wendell has been just an absolute stud in high school for Minnesota. Um, she scored 109 goals uh, and 149 points in 1999. The next year, 110 goals and then 165 points. She's top
Dude, could
10,
you
and
imagine? Even in
it's
Minnesota,
insane.
high school's got to only play 35 games
Yeah, I mean, you're getting a hat trick every game.
every game. Imagine going into a game. I'm always thinking I'm a goalie. Okay, we're winning 3-0 before the
Right.
puck drops
Yeah.
because I've got Chrissy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Um,
I mean, that's like Gretzky numbers
for sure.
before both games.
She's top 10 in Minnesota State hockey high school league history.
Mm.
Um, Two-time NCAA champ, and I'm going through some of these others because then I'll eventually, I'm getting to the good stuff. But I don't want to just
We're
completely.
gonna build, not to take
I
away
don't
from
want
it,
to
but
exactly.
you're
I don't
not
want to
dying.
dismiss from these. So she was college national champion. She's got world championships with the USA, silver and gold as well. She's also, I believe, still currently in this position. But back in 2021, she was hired by the Penguins as an amateur scout
Mm.
around the Minnesota area. So pretty
Nice.
interesting, pretty neat. Um, so then that leaves us with the three big names, the three main people that um,
NHL players. I mean,
NHL players that yes, people would know: Shea Weber, Jeremy Roenick, and our very own Pavel Datsyuk. Pavel, if
imagine.
you're out there and you want to come on the Studs and Scrubs podcast, we
Hey,
would love to have you. Um,
we we would love you, Dan. Pavel. I was just reading about your home
you're
city
you're
of.
my son's favorite player. Come
He's
on,
probably in
it's fine.
my top five. I don't. I'm a
Yeah,
little too old, so Iserman, but that's it. He's from this town. If you're listening, Pavel,
yeah. Do you know where you're from?
Yekaterinburg, 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 I think. Which what's funny? I can't pronounce it, but I looked it up real quick because I'm a geography nerd. As we talked about, did you know that
Hmm.
the world is round?
Yeah.
I'm so smart. Um, you do know this city though, and you don't know that you know it. I'm guessing. I'm guessing that 90% of the listeners would know this city, and they don't know that they know this city
Hmm.
because his hometown is in the region. It's like a state. Oh, I just had it. I lost it. It's called the Ural Federal District. So they have obelisks, they call them, which is like a state or a province, and they have a lot because the country's so big. So they
Yeah.
have obelisks and they have districts, and a lot of them are segregated by like your history, like a people group or a religion or a race or
Mm.
something. It was set up that way on purpose. And at the time, it wasn't like segregated in a bad way necessarily. It was
Mm-hmm.
like, we all are this religion, so we live together over here.
Okay.
And it was like, with the
Yeah.
kings and stuff, still, it was actually kind of forward thinking a little bit. This town he's from is most famous for the Golden Dome Church of Blood. It was the scene where the Romanov family was murdered. The
Oh, wow.
last of the Romanovs, the end of the Tsars, the Princess Anastasia, still alive
Wow.
and missing, Disney
Okay.
movie,
Wow.
was
Interesting.
in his hometown where he's
Huh.
from. So a little connection for me of geography and hockey. I
Yeah.
saw where he was from. I said, "Oh, I don't know that city. Where's that city? It's closer to Kazakhstan because the country's so big,
Hmm.
right?" And I zoom in, click on it, and the first thing it says, the city is well known for the Golden Church of Blood. And I was
Wow.
like, I don't think people know that it's
Yeah.
Yekaterinburg, but they know that story of the
Yeah, for
Romanovs.
sure. Huh.
So, sorry to derail
Interesting.
again, but another little interesting fact with Datsyuk, it just never stops.
Ooh, excuse me.
Bless
Yeah.
you, salud,
Thank you.
as we say now in my Spanish-speaking bilingual family.
So yeah, I'm gonna do a little studs and scrubs of our Hockey Hall of Fame
Of the Hall of
inductees.
Fame. I'm gonna. Hey, sorry, you're breaking up, Nick. I gotta go. I hang
Yeah.
up my call.
Well, I'm just I mean it's a little unfair to I guess just do it to this class. I didn't do enough research. At some point, I would like to do overall like who maybe who isn't in the Hall of Fame that should be, and who
Yeah,
got in the Hall of Fame that maybe shouldn't have, or maybe is kind of on the bubble.
or in front of people that
Yes,
is kind of like.
yes. And dare I say one of them is in this Hall of Fame class. I'll get
I
to
feel
that.
like that's how the research got led up. By the way, I like you got lined up, and I
Yeah,
noticed,
yeah.
but I was gonna wait for Miles to join to bring up that you got your beard sculpted, sideburns brought in, but
Yeah, we had family pictures over Thanksmas, so I needed to get cleaned up a little bit.
it
So,
looks really good.
well, thank you.
If you've been watching the podcast, you know. If you don't know
Yeah,
Nick, or this is the first time you've ever tuned in, it doesn't look like he's trimmed, but that is trimmed, shaved,
yes,
trimmed, and
yes.
looking good.
This is a little more groomed than I normally am.
But if you're a big beard guy, then you would know
Yeah.
because
Oh,
this
yeah.
is the longest, this is the most it'll ever grow. I can't grow a big beard, but like guys know who grow big beards to
Yeah.
get that chisel shape when it's 6, 8 inches long.
Yeah.
Like that's trimmed up nice. And you
Yeah.
got the
Well, thank
line
you.
in between.
Thank you.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean? The guy who did our pavement today, we put the baby's
Mm.
hand in the concrete today.
Oh, nice.
Patio.
Nice.
He had a beard like yours, but real long, almost to his belt buckle. And
Oh,
so it's
wow.
blowing in the wind, doing the Harley Davidson split. And I'm like, yeah, he's not lined up.
Yeah.
Nick's
Yeah.
lined up.
Yeah.
So let's go, Hall of
Um,
Fame.
yeah. So, stud, obviously, Datsuk. I'll start there. You
Stud.
look at his numbers individually and his team accomplishments. So, he's got 3 Selke awards, which we haven't gone over that trophy, I don't believe. That's the best defensive forward.
Yeah.
Um, he's got 3 of those. He's got 4 Lady Bing trophies. Um, there's also this isn't a trophy; it just said award, but he was the plus minus leader in 2008. Um, obviously, the 2 Stanley Cups. He won one in 2002 when we were loaded. Datsuk's on line 4. No one knows who he is. Just
What a
insane.
team.
Yeah, his tenure. They had the Red Wings won 4 President trophies. Obviously, the 2 Stanley Cups. They went there a third time, lost. But he played 953 games, 314 goals, 604 assists. He's got 918 points in his career. A little low for as talented as he was. He
Yeah.
probably could have put up more than that. but just I would also say a very unselfish player.
Oh yeah.
Um, and a lot of his energy also put into playing defense. Um,
Yeah.
hence the three Selkies. So he's out there in situations where we need a big penalty kill, we need a big face-off win in the defensive zone towards the end of the game, trying to get possession. So he wasn't always just offensively minded. He had to play a lot of defense as well. So I take that into account when looking at
Oh
some
yeah.
of his stats. Turnover machine as far as creating them, taking
Yep.
pucks away from guys in the open ice, deacon guys out in the phone booth, some of the most iconic shootout goals
Uh,
of
of
all
all time.
time.
I mean,
And one thing that I really did not consider with Datsyuk as I'm looking at his career um, was he was also around for the lockouts.
yeah.
So if those lockouts don't happen, he gets 1,000 points,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
no
For sure. A
question.
season and a half, right? He would have
Yeah,
had extra.
we're
So 100
talking
more
the
games. He's at a point per game his whole career. I
he's
mean,
in yeah, yeah. So I think if we don't have the lockouts and he gets, another 100 games under his belt, he's at over 1,000 points, 1,000 games played. I think those I don't want to say magic numbers because sometimes
yeah. But I
it's
mean, it is,
useful,
right?
but
You get the silver stick, 1,000 games. It's a big deal.
1,000 games,
It's in
thousand
points. It's
points,
a
it is
really
kind of
big
a
deal.
yeah. So 157 playoff games. He had 42 goals, 113 assists. Um, so,
So he's a
I
point
mean,
per game in the playoffs as well. I mean, look at
yeah,
that. He's got almost two entire seasons in the postseason.
yeah. So you add those numbers to his regular season numbers, he does have over 1,000 points.
Yeah.
So just
When it's the most difficult time to score.
yeah, and
He
again,
actually probably, I bet you
that's
he's got
when
a higher.
he's probably playing more defense too on other teams'
Right.
best forwards, best lines.
Yeah,
So
probably because he's so good at it. You got a good point. He's
yeah,
probably more defensive minded, and I bet you he has a higher point percentage in
yeah.
the playoffs than the regular season. Playing
So
more defense and still scoring more points. I mean, that's a
yeah,
Hall of Fame first ballot sentence.
yeah. And I feel like he was routinely named by other NHL players as the hardest guy to defend against, the hardest guy to play against, the hardest guy to take the puck away from, the one that they feared the most was going to take the puck away from them, most creative.
I just
His
heard
stick
the
handling skills were unmatched. I mean, just,
oh poor Logan Couture that
yeah.
highlight where he
Oh,
breaks
yeah.
his ankle. So there's some famous tweet where he's like, "It's my birthday, come
Yeah,
on."
yeah.
um, not to interrupt, but on this same topic, I heard an interview that had Keith Yandel in it, and he
Mm,
said, as good as Datsyuk was at coming down, and you're afraid he's going to embarrass you or deke you out or whatever, you end up on a highlight reel. When you had the puck, it was 10 times worse
mm,
than when he's coming at you because you're constantly like, where is he? Where's he at?
yeah,
And you're just panicking that Datsyuk's going to strip you, dance you, make you look like a fool, and score.
yeah,
And like they were joking about it, the podcast saying that like you would find him on the bench and be like, oh, thank God he's not on the ice.
yeah,
Like just like he is so good in these untangible ways that like if I'm playing defense in the NHL, I mean Keith Yandel held the Iron Man trophy.
yeah,
He's not some slouch. He'll probably go in the Hall of Fame someday. And he's looking over going, oh, thank God, Datsuk's not on the ice. You know what I mean? So, like, to
yeah,
your point, the takeaways, the fear he can instill in another player of, like, I want to get off the ice when this dude is on the ice.
for
Like,
sure.
how good are you?
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, Datsuk, just a stud, deserves to be there. The one knock on him that I just fear is going to I don't know. I'm not even trying to make it happen. But we all know, as Wings fans know, that Sergei Fedorov's number is not retired because of um, a lot of what went down with the offer sheet with him in Carolina and him leaving the
Yeah.
team and then honestly playing for several different teams. Um, you know, if the Wings aren't an original six team, if they don't have the rich history that they do, these guys' numbers are retired. You know, the day they retire. Um, does Datsyuk's number get retired by the Red Wings? I would like to think so, but I know there at the end he signed that contract and then wanted to go back to Russia for the last year to be close to family.
Hmm.
And then
Yeah.
the Red Wings did trade his rights to the Coyotes. So while he never played for them, the
They
Wings,
might have the greatest team of all time if
that
you
is
count
true.
those.
If you count, yeah. So while he never played for them, the Wings don't like to be spurned like that and have in the past shown that they will, you know, maybe hold that against you for what it's worth. I don't know. I hope that because he never actually played for another team, that we'll get past this.
I
And
hope so.
especially with the multiple cups, you know, because the Red Wings, you have to have, it's almost like you need a certain criteria by the Red Wings. You know, right? Any team can decide to retire any number for their thing. You know,
You're right.
so these aren't league standards that you have to meet for your number to be retired by the team. But the Red
Right.
Wings, I feel like, kind of hold a little bit higher standard because they are an original six, because they have such a rich history that it's
Mhm.
like you almost have to play your entire career for that team. Multiple Stanley Cups and some individual awards. If you look at the most recent players, obviously, you know, Lidstrom, Yzerman, you know, multiple cups, Lidstrom
Yep.
with the Norris trophies, Yzerman, Conn Smythe, and a Selke. You know, so we're talking multiple individual awards plus
Yep.
multiple Stanley Cups. The Red Wings, they don't care that you won one cup or
Oh,
even
one. That's
two,
few.
really.
Yeah.
Um, you know, whereas uh, Carolina or whatever, they're going to retire your number,
Yeah. Well,
whatever.
even the Penguins, right? That's a good example. Crosby, of course, his number will be retired, but I bet
Yeah,
you they do 87, 71, and Letang. What is it? 58. What is his?
yeah,
I bet you they do all three of them.
yeah,
Okay, Yzerman obviously, but not only did he have his individual records, if it wasn't for Gretzky and Lemieux, there was a whole 5 year, maybe even 10-year stretch where it was like, Yzerman is undisputably the best player in the world.
and yeah,
Oh, no, he's not. He's third. Because how many years, right? I mean, you know more than me, where, okay, whatever. Gretzky's got 205 and Lemieux's got 197, and then lowly Yzerman with 185 is like,
yeah. If Wayne Gretzky and Mario Lemieux never played hockey, Steve Yzerman would hold the record for the most points in a season.
right. See, and which is crazy because of course Gretzky's got like four that are higher or something stupid or five, but it's like
Gretzky's got 4 seasons with over 200 points.
that's so stupid. But
Yeah,
it's like that's the standard. You could argue that Lindstrom is the best defenseman who ever lived.
yeah,
So as much as I would say Datsyuk is the you could debate he's the best all around player, top five ever. But it wasn't 13 Kozlov's number as well.
yes.
Like I don't know if it's the Fedorov thing was the falling out and all that, and then Datsyuk's like, I don't want to go play in Moscow when I'm 50. I want to go when I'm still talented. And the Illich family doesn't like getting burnt, or they just don't like Russians. Because I've noticed that we're not retiring Russians jerseys. Although I just did a quick Google search of who's retired. I thought 16 was retired. Is it
No,
not?
no.
Because Brett Hall didn't wear it, right?
He wore 17.
just out of respect?
That's a
I
good
feel like
question because that
because that's
wasn't
what I
long
was in my head thinking that
after. Yeah,
16 was retired, but especially because he's still around the Red Wings all the time.
yeah.
You would think they would retire.
It's very weird to see guys wear numbers of players that you know. You look at Shanahan's numbers. Um,
Oh, through the roof.
if he, if he, I don't think his numbers retired anywhere else. But I mean, and that's the problem. He played for several other
He
teams,
played for like 8 teams, but
but he came there, and that he was the missing piece. Essentially,
yeah,
that's when they started winning those cups in the late '90s. Shanny's got 3 cups and
yeah.
is over 500 goals. I mean, you look at his numbers, dude. He was putting up points plus knocking guy. I mean, just an enforcer. He actually, I think, to go back, just so listeners know that I didn't forget about it, but when we were talking about the Gordie Howe hat tricks
Yeah.
and fight night at the Joe, Brendan Shanahan, only player that night to get a Gordie Howe hat trick.
Ooh.
Um, but what he meant to that organization at that time was, incredible. That
Yeah.
5 year period, '97 to 2002. Shanny's he's wearing an A. He's an assistant captain. He's
And they
you
never
know,
never
and it's
dreamed of retiring that number.
no,
No
no,
chance.
no.
14 nothing. 91 nothing.
Yeah.
13?
So
Probably not.
I hope that they do. Are they a little upset? I think the part that's probably going to hurt Datsuk is that he signed like a 2 or 3 year contract. I think it was a 3 year contract, and then
And he
wanted out
broke it early,
after.
right?
He wanted out after 2, and it's like, dude, why not? Then you should have just signed a 2 year contract, or said, hey, you know what? I'd like to just take it a year at a time.
Yeah.
Or at that point in his career, he had already won the cups. We're talking 2015, 2016 is when he quit playing in the NHL. So it's like, dude, at that point, you're not going to another team. Just
Yeah.
sign a 1 year deal. Say, listen, I don't know if I want to keep playing hockey. I'll just keep signing 1 year
Mhm.
deals. I don't know, but I don't know the business side of it either. I don't know
I
what
don't
they
know
were
the
after,
business.
but
And,
um,
and my thing is like maybe I'm just a sucker for like old school hockey where it's like this guy's a guy that is amazing and he played his whole career for you.
yeah,
Like you don't trade away Steven Stamkos, right? You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
you keep those players. I'm like that. But I feel like there was something where it wasn't just playing in Russia. It was also like, oh, family. But it was something like, I think maybe his daughter lives in Russia, and there was something about
yes.
like,
He
I
wanted to
miss
be
my
closer
family,
with
I'm
his
never going around my
daughter.
daughter.
Was the
A
main
3 year
thing.
contract, okay, my daughter isn't even 1 years old, but yours is
Yeah,
11 or whatever. The difference in a girl from ages 11 to 13 saying, oh, you're never around anymore, you just live in Detroit, why don't you live in Moscow?
yeah,
Okay, I'm making stuff up, but like, you don't think maybe you say, I don't really care what I signed. I'm going to go over and be with my daughter
yeah,
because suddenly she's a teenager and I'm getting it with both barrels every time I pick up the phone. So like, I'm out of here. So
yeah,
if it's something like that where it's like, I kind of made that up, but it's like, dude, I'm going to go be with my family. I gave you guys my whole career. I love Detroit. I'm not leaving for a bigger paycheck to go to the Rangers.
right.
I'm going home. I'm not
Yeah.
from this country. Like,
And that's the other thing too. A lot of people have said is that not that Datsuk didn't. Um, well, I mean, he didn't. You get some of these other players, a Lidstrom, a Zetterberg, Holmstrom. Some of these other players that came over made Detroit their home. They learned English. They moved here. Their whole families were here. They put them in the schools. They raised families here. They had kids over here. Datsuk
yep,
never did that.
no. And
He
some of
learned
those
enough
Russians
English to
tell me,
get by, but he's
yep,
always been Russian. He's always had family back there.
always.
That's his.
It's kind of like Malkin. I feel like Malkin's like that. He's kind of like, yeah, I'm here because I work here and I love
Yeah,
it here. But like,
yeah.
I'm not
And
from
when they're
here.
done hockey, they're gonna go back home. Some of these
I
other
don't really
guys,
care. Yeah. Oh, my English isn't good. Yeah, I don't care.
Yeah.
Because I'm watching TV in
And
Russia
because
or
when I
whatever.
go back,
It's like
and when I'm done
I'm
playing
going
hockey, I'm going
home.
back home.
And I feel like
Lidstrom,
Russia has
Zetterberg,
that
some of
rule
those
too.
guys still live here. So it's like
And
they,
you know what? Not to pick on it too hard, but I'll blame the NHL a tiny bit because there is this just unashamed, blatant bias for Canada good, Russia bad.
mm,
And I would argue that it led to a big reason why McKinnon won the Hart and not Kucherov. Because if it was between Austin Matthews and Kucherov, I feel like they'd lean Kucherov. Just because Kucherov it was so amazing, right? 140 something points. When you have two people that get 140 points and one's from Canada, it's over. We're not giving it to a Russian. And I very much believe that plays into that. And so then when it's like, you know what, I don't want to be here, I want to go home. Okay, go back to Russia. It's like, yeah, that's my home. I'm gonna go back. So there's a little bit of both. I don't think the NHL, especially Canada, sorry our friends in I called it the Great North, the True North. That's the song, right? The True North, strong and free. You guys have it out for Russia a little bit, and it's not from the Cold War, it's from the Canada Cup in the 70s. We all know it. We all know that it's Russia versus Canada for who invented the sport, who's the best of all time. And you do this to yourselves. And our Russian friends want to go back home, and there's some pressure, I think, on the NHL kind of going, good, then go back to Russia.
I can also see Russian players, um, they're good enough. If you look at Ilya Kovalchuk, Pavel Datsyuk, um, Yager's not Russian, but he's European. But they can go back when they're 38 and play in the KHL and be the best player on their team.
And you don't think they're making money?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's not like, it's going to be, $200,000. That's a good job if you're a normal person, but not if you're a pro. They probably make more.
So Canada doesn't have that. Canada doesn't have a look because they got Canadian teams in the NHL. Russia has a
Right.
whole nother league that, hey, I can
A
go
whole
back
nother
home,
league.
still play hockey, be closer to my family, and
Well,
still be a
imagine
star in hockey.
on a start. What if you were so good that you were the starting striker for Real Madrid,
Yeah.
and you were a kid that was from Minnesota or whatever, and then halfway through your career, the Chicago Fire say, "We'll pay you $100 million to come play in Illinois."
Yeah.
And then you leave, and everyone's going, "Oh my god! Oh, why would he want to leave Real Madrid?" I'm from here. I got friends in Chicago. I'm going to go live in Chicago for $100 million. It's flipped, right?
Yeah.
So exactly what you're saying. Canada can't. They got the NHL, a whole different league. Why would you? If I could make a lot of money, if I could make $50 million to stay in my country with my language and my stuff, why would I leave? Other than, of course, the chase for the Stanley Cup. But I bet you Putin and whoever the hell else is involved would give Ovechkin way more money. Way 20, 30 million to be like, leave the Capitals and play for CSK Moscow.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, I would be kind of shocked if he wasn't offered at some point. Hey, we'd like you to play in Moscow. Here's this gigantic duffel bag of mystery in your hotel room. You know what I mean? Like, come on.
For sure.
Hey, how about the rumors that Ovechkin's doing really good this year? Really good. Barry Bonds, good. No comments. No comment. Back to Datsyuk.
Well, that's all I got on Datsyuk. I mean, he's obviously deserving the Hall of Fame. I hope the Wings retire his number. Just a stud. Glad to see him in the Hall. Um, the last two people I want to touch on just real quick. My headphones are dying.
Yeah, you are a little bit quiet, and I'm hoping it's just our internet and not the recording.
So I'll start with Shea Weber. captain of the Montreal Canadiens, led them to the finals in 2021. That was the first time since '93. I think that's a little skewed because I do believe that year it was the Lightning and Canadiens in the finals because of the bubble.
The bubble.
And yeah, so a Canadian team was going to make the Final Four at least, I believe. But
yeah,
7-time All-Star. He played in over 1,000 games. He had 589 points. One thing that kind of surprised me was that Shea Weber uh, scored 20 or more goals 3 times. So I probably wouldn't have guessed that.
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't really known for his goal scoring as much as his shot was so famous.
Yeah, he had a hard shot for sure. 2-time runner-up for the Norris. He did win the Messier Leadership Award in 2016. And here's where I think he got a little bit of an edge as a player because although it is, see now I'm gonna make myself look bad probably, because it's the Hockey Hall of Fame, right? It's not
Correct.
The NHL
not
Hall
the
of Fame.
NHL Hall of Fame.
So Hockey Hall of Fame. Here's where he gets an edge. He won WHL championship. He won a Memorial Cup. He's got gold medals at the World Juniors, World Championship, and the Olympics.
Yeah.
So covers all the spectrums of.
Covers them all. Is that the triple gold, or do you need the Stanley Cup?
No, that's the triple gold. World Juniors, World Championship, and the Olympics. So
because I think Datsuk's got a triple gold also, by the way. Pretty sure. Because Russia won the one where none of the pros went, so Russia was like stacked because they had the KHL pros. I don't remember.
So that worked in Shea Weber's favor, for sure. But, then some injuries and stuff happened, so,
yeah, broken foot and all that. I'm not going to use the word that you're going to use, but he definitely, his stats.
Exactly. So when I was first looking at him, I was like, ooh, man, his stats don't, But then when you start, like I said, looking at some of his hockey accomplishments outside of the NHL with the gold medals and that kind of stuff, it is pretty impressive. And as a defenseman, you shouldn't just be judged on your offensive skills and abilities.
Sure.
I think defense plays a part into that. And he was a big guy, physical guy. I think a lot of players probably didn't want to play against him. But so I don't think he's a scrub. Now, this last player, I might get some flack for this. And this is where I want to talk magic numbers for a minute because it's Jeremy Roenick. He's got 513 goals, 703 assists. So
1,000 points.
1,216 points in 1,363 games. He was a 9-time All-Star. He's got no Stanley Cups. Fine. But he has no individual awards either.
Ooh.
No, no Selke, no Hart, no Rocket Richard, no nothing.
No, nothing.
And I just saw, it might have even been in his Hall of Fame speech or something over the weekend, the Hall of Fame ceremony stuff, where he talked about how he was, 10 shy, 7 shy of 500, and he was just hoping for a call. And he was going through some issues with some, alcohol and stuff. And so he got a call from the Sharks. They said, hey, we'll bring you on board, but you have to play for the league minimum. And there was no alcohol, and I think there was something else that he had to agree to or something. But he was like, fine, I'll do it. Because he wanted to hit the magic number of 500 goals.
Wow.
Which maybe he wasn't thinking I want to hit the magic number of 500 just to get whatever. But I mean, that is, you get to 500. That is a pretty big number. 400,
Yes.
okay, a lot of people, I shouldn't say a lot of people, but, I don't know how many players have hit 500 goals in their NHL careers. But that is kind of the magic number to be like, oh, yeah, if you got 500 or more goals, you're a stud. So bounced around for a little bit, had some issues. I'm not going to hold any of that against him. Almost a point per game player, so he's not a total uh, scrub out there, but just Hall of Famer.
It's interesting. I thought you were going to pick more on Weber, but there is a little bit of popularity contest, I think, to it, because when you break it apart, the Hockey Hall of Fame, all the accolades that Weber has, that you don't need points, you're a defenseman, you stay at home. It's also the leadership. It's also the people voting say, yeah, but you're on the couch. I know him. I've met him. Like, that guy is a leader in hockey. And so there is some sort of untangibles people can vote on. My thing with Weber was more of like unquestioned first ballot.
Yeah.
I could see him being inducted in 2 or 3 more years where it's like everyone is like, oh, absolutely not, no questions. The first time he is available, he is guaranteed in. And I think that Datsyuk was first ballot, but that means Hendrik Zetterberg's not. So it's like, right? Didn't they?
No.
Or is he next year?
Z retired a year or two after. Or, I mean, he.
Okay, so never mind. But I was just thinking, like, not to get too far off topic, but you got a good point where, okay, Roenick retired a pretty long time ago, so maybe that's part of it. Like, you waited 10 years. Yeah. You're not a first ballot Hall of Famer, but you got a magic number. You got 1,000 points. You got 500 goals. You're in. Here is somebody who's always better than I thought he was, not in the NHL. And I had to Google that first, so then I was going to say his total number goals. NHL goals real quick. Sorry, I thought I had it pulled up. 400. The 400 club, you're not in. Ray Ferraro has 898 points and 400 goals. So 400 goals, 900 points, you're not in. Yeah. He's been retired since the 90s. Doesn't matter. It's not magic. You got 500 goals and you got 1,000, you're in. I think that I wonder how many people with 1,000 points are not in. So I think 500 goals. I bet you Roenick might have been the only person with 500 goals who wasn't in.
Could have been.
I don't know that, but
and I'm not saying I'm against magic numbers, but it's just there has to be that line somewhere. So of course, when you draw that line, there's going to be someone that's the worst player in the Hall of Fame, and there's going to be a best player not in the Hall of Fame.
Yep.
Just by making those distinctions. So, is it a testament to him being around and playing at that high level for so long? Yeah, I think there's something to be said about that.
There's something to that, sure.
But
he retired in 2009, so I think you're eligible 3 years out, so 12. Okay. So he waited 12 years to get into the Hockey Hall of Fame with 500 goals. So I think most people are probably saying he's due. He's got a magic number, 1,000 points, 500 goals. It's been 10 years. He's in. Yeah. That's probably the formula. So I get what you're saying where he's on that border. He's in the very good, not the great.
And I will say that fair or unfair, I bet some of his off-ice issues probably played a part in him not getting voted in.
Yeah, probably pushed him out a few years. I bet you he would have been in 3-4 years ago, whenever the NBC firing issues happened.
Yeah. So
because also you're talking about popularity contest. I've heard people say he's like their favorite guy. Even my dad has a story about him. He was at an all-star game or something, and he was out on the town. You know, my dad likes to go and party it up sometimes, and especially when he was younger. And he said he was coming in from being out, you know, and it was late, 1, 2 in the morning, and Jeremy Roenick is leaving the hotel with 2 ladies getting in a car to go out on the town, just heading out 2 a.m. It must have been St. Louis. You could Google it, All-Star game in St. Louis. Heading out on the town 2 a.m. So, I mean, he was a popular guy. He was a partier guy that people liked. So the fact that you have 500 goals and everybody loves you and all of a sudden you're not in for 12 years, I think that stuff played into it.
Yeah. But good for him.
Is your phone?
I mean,
you're gonna have to. Yeah, I mean, heck, would have scored on me 100 out of 100 times.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
So I don't really want to call him a scrub, but I do think maybe he's one of the ones that he's on the border of
not making it.
Of
I mean,
not
he's
making
on the border.
it. Yeah. So, but I would like to do a deeper dive of, where is that line? Who's in the hall? What numbers do they have? Like you said, how many 500 goal scorers are not in there? How many 400 goal scorers are in there? You look at Datsyuk. We all agree he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. Only 314 goals.
Right. So that's interesting.
Jeremy Roenick.
Where is the line?
Jeremy Roenick has 200 more goals than Datsyuk.
Right.
So in like 300 more games. Well, maybe. Let's see what I got here.
Yeah, 400
more games. So 400 more games, but 200 more goals. So
it's still 200 more goals. Ron Francis played forever. It doesn't matter. You still got those points.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, though. Everyone always brings up McGillney. McGillney needs to go in.
Yeah.
And so that'll be a good one to go into. Anyways, this has been fantastic. It was a little longer than I thought it would be, but I love the Hall of Fame research you've done for us. And
so we'll do a deeper dive in that another time.
We'll do one of these trophies coming up soon or something. Because
absolutely.
You got to, when you're the best defensive forward in the NHL and you're still in the top 10, 20 points every year, it's pretty insane.
Yeah.
So
for sure.
We love you, Datsyuk. I don't really have anything else to go into other than the Wings did end up losing and embarrassing, dropped the ball there. Whatever. Hopefully they bounce back. But struggling this year, Let's go Wings.
Yeah.
Let's go Datsyuk. And we'll try not to live in the glory days too long. Let's get into the here and now. Let's win some games, shoot some pucks.
There we go. Shoot the puck.
Yep.
So.
Okay, man. Anything else you got to bring up?
No, I'm good. That's all I got for now. So.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. Watch on YouTube, subscribe, like, share, everything
all
else.
The things.
And all right, we will see you next week, Nick. Thanks.
Yep.
Keep your stick on the ice.
All right, make the first move, Conway.
Our extra music, our exit music. Damn it.